Let's start with the chapter. This is Jody's Fawn. Now, who is the Fawn? Fawn is a young child of a deer. Okay, so here the story centers around this Fawn and a boy named Jody, who feels that it is his moral duty to care for a fawn whose mother he and his father has killed to save his father's life. Now, why they need to save his father's life? Because his father was bitten by a rattlesnake, okay? And the only way to save him is to kill a doe. Doe is a female deer, the mother deer whose fawn was left alone, and then they will use its liver and heart to draw out the poison out from it to cure the father, okay? Now, what happens in the story? Let's see. Before you read, often instead of rushing to the doctor to treat a small cut or burn, we find quick and effective cures using things available at home. Can you think of some such home remedies for a cut on your knee, a burn on your arm, or bee sting? In this story, Jody's father has been bitten by a rattlesnake. He quickly kills a doe and uses its heart and liver to draw out the poison. Jody wonders what will happen to the little fawn left without a mother. Now, when they kill the doe, the mother deer, now he is feeling sorry, he's feeling very anxious for that baby deer because he is left alone and he is very small, he can't take care of himself, right? So that is why Jody is concerned. Now, let's see what happens in the story and how he brings him home, the fawn home, okay? Now, Jody allowed his thoughts to drift back to the fawn. He could not keep it out of his mind. He had held it in his dreams, in his arms. He has held that dream of bringing that fawn home. Okay. He slipped from the table and went to his father's bedside. Penny lay at rest. Penny was his father's name, so he went to his bedside. His eyes were open and clear, but the pupils were still dark and dilated. Why they were still dark and dilated? Because he was still under the effect of that snake bite. Judy said, "How are you feeling, Pa?" "Just fine, son. All that had gone thieving elsewhere, but wasn't it a close shave?" Now he said that we ditched the death, but it was a very close shave. Maybe I would have gone with it, right, with the death, right? But it was a close shave, and he was saved by that mother deer. "I agree," Penny said. "I am proud of you, boy, the way you kept your head and did what was needed," because he also helped his father to kill the mother deer and take the venom out of it. Okay. Pa, yes, son. Pa, do you recollect the doe and the fawn? Now he says, do you recollect the doe and the fawn? We killed the mother deer, but the fawn was somewhere left behind there, starved and hungry, right? He said, "I can never forget them. The poor doe saved me, that's certain. Pa, the fawn may be out there yet. It might be hungry and very scared because he was very small. So a young child without his mother is very scared and he might be hungry too." So father said, "I suppose so. Pa, I am a big boy now and I don't need to drink milk. Why don't I go and see if I can find the fawn and bring it here and raise it?" Penny lay quiet, staring at the ceiling. So he was just listening to Jody and he was staring at the ceiling because he wanted to bring him home and raise it, and he was also ready to give him his share of milk, his portion of milk, because they didn't have anything else to feed that fawn. Okay. Now father said, "Boy, you have got me hemmed in." Got me hemmed in means caught in a situation where one can't say no. Why with the person can't say no? Because they had killed his mother for their own sake, right? So now he can't say no. "It won't take much to raise it, Pa. It will soon start eating leaves and acorns." He said it will not take much help, much effort to raise it because he will be soon old enough to start eating leaves and acorns. Till then, I will feed him my portion of milk. What are acorns? Acorns are small brown nuts. Okay. He says, "You are smarter than boys of your age. We took its mother and it wasn't to blame. Surely it seems ungrateful to leave it to starve." He says, "No, it's very ungrateful, very unthankful to leave that fawn alone to starve. Son, I can't say no to you. I never thought I would live to see another day." He said, I never expected that if that mother deer was not killed, that mother deer would not be sacrificed for me, I would not have lived, I would not have survived, right?" So he was very grateful, very thankful to that mother deer because she saved his life. He said, "Can I ride back with Millwheel and see if I can find it?" Now Millwheel was his father's friend. He said, can I go with Bilbil and find the fawn and bring it home? So father said, okay, yes, you can tell your ma and say that I only, gave you permission to go. He sidled back to the table and sat down. His mother was pouring coffee for everyone because there was doctor also at home at that time. Millwheel was there and the family was already there. So she was pouring coffee for everyone. He said, Ma, Pa says I can go bring back the fawn. She held the coffee pot in midair. What fawn? The fawn belonging to the doe we killed. We used the doe's liver to draw out the poison and save Pa. She gasped. Well, for pity's sake. Pa says it would be ungrateful to leave it to starve. Now, Dr. Wilson said, that's right, ma'am. Nothing in the world comes quite free. The boy is right and his daddy is right. Now, Dr. Wilson also added that nothing in this world comes for free because if you have killed the mother deer, it is your duty to now save the fawn and feed him because nothing comes for free, everything comes for a price. Okay. And Jody always had that sympathy for the fawn. And he also can't stop thinking about it. That is why he was pleading his father. He was requesting his father to bring it home and he wants to adopt him, right? Because he thinks that it is their responsibility to take care of it because they were the cause of his mother's death. Okay, its mother's death. Now Millville said, he can ride back with me. I will help him find it. Then Millville said, he can come with me and I will help him find it. She set down the pot helplessly. Now she was also helpless. Even she can't say no to this. Well, if you will give it your milk, we have got nothing else to feed it. Now she agreed on one condition. She said she's okay with it if Jody would give the fawn, his share of milk as he had nothing else to feed the fawn. Okay. So Jody agreed with his mother. Millville said, come on boy, we have got to get riding. Ma Baxter asked anxiously, you will not be gone long. Jody said, I will be back before dinner for sure. Now mother was anxious because he was going, so maybe she was thinking that maybe he will be late. But he said, don't worry, I will be back before dinner for sure. Then Millville mounted his horse and pulled Jody up behind him. So Millville gave Jody a ride on his horse and they were set off to the journey. He said to Millville, do you think the fawn's still there? Will you help me find him? Now he was asking during the journey that, do you think the fawn will be still there and you will help me to find him? He was asking him. Then Millville said, we will find him if he is alive. How do you know it is a he? Then Millville also asked, how do you know it is a he? How you know that it is a male deer? He said, because the spots were all in a line. On a doe fawn passes, the spots were every which way. Now he said, I can recognize him that he is a male deer because of the spots. Because he can find that from the spots on his body. Okay, so it will be able to the spots will help differentiate between a male deer and a female deer. Okay. Now let us do this comprehension check. What had happened to Jody's father? So Jody's father had been bitten by a rattlesnake. Okay. Then second question, how did the doe save Penny's life? Jody and his father killed a doe to use its heart and liver to extract poison out of him, and this is how they will save him. Why does Jody want to bring the fawn home? Now, the doe, the mother deer Jody had killed to extract poison out of its body and save his father's life, had a fawn, a young deer, child deer. Jody wondered that the fawn must be lost and hungry without his mother. So Jody wanted to bring the fawn home to raise him as he felt responsible to take care of him. Okay. Then fourth question, how does Jody know that the fawn is a male? So Jody was sure that the fawn was a male because the spots on the fawn were all in a line and his father had told him that a female deer or a doe fawn has spots going in different direction. Okay. So this was the answer, the proper answer to this question, that how to differentiate between a male deer and a female deer. Okay. Now the second part. Jody gave himself over to thoughts of the fawn. They passed the abandoned clearing. While going on the journey to find the fawn, Jody engaged himself in thinking about the fawn. They crossed a deserted piece of land, an abandoned piece of land where there's nothing in the forest. Okay. And he said, cut to the north, Millville. He was also giving directions to Millville to turn towards the north where Penny got bitten by a snake because he knew the exact location where Penny was bitten by a snake. He said, it was up here that Pa got bitten by the snake and killed the doe and I saw the fawn. Suddenly, Jody was unwilling to have Millville with him. If the fawn was dead or could not be found, he could not have his disappointment seen. Now, here Jody was resisting to take Millville along with him because he wondered that if the fawn was dead till now or if it could not be found. He did not want Millville to see his disappointment, okay, because he will be very disappointed if he will not be able to find that fawn. And if the fawn was there, the meeting would be so lovely and so secret that he could not endure to share it. On the other hand, he was feeling that if he will find the fawn, if he will find the fawn, the union, the meeting would be so lovely, so personal, so secretive that he could not he doesn't want to share that feeling also with Millville. Okay, so he was resisting to take Millville along with him. He said, "It's not far now." But the scrub is very thick for a horse. I can make it on foot. So now he was making excuses. He said, it is not far now. I can get down and the scrub is very thick. Right? The bushes are very thick. You can't take a horse inside it. I can easily go by foot. But I am afraid to leave you, Millville said. I am afraid to leave you, boy. Suppose you got lost or got bitten by the snake too. Now he said, if you are alone, if you will be also bitten by the snake just like your father, what you will do? So you should take me with yourself. Okay? With you. He said, I will take care. It might take me a long time to find the fawn if he's wandered. Leave me off right here. He said, it will take me long if I'll not be able to find the fawn. And I will take care of myself. I am old enough to take care of myself. All right, but you take it easy now. You know north here and east. He said, all right. So Millville follows his direction. His direction means he agreed to him and he advises him to take it easy. Okay. He asked Jody if he is aware where the north and the east was. Now he also asked him that if he is aware where the north of the forest is and where the east was. Okay. There and there. He told him that there and there. He told him the exact locations. That tall pine makes a bearing. He said that he knows and that the tall pine acts as a compass. As a bearing means act as a compass because if we have read in geography, where the compass points, that position is north. Okay, so that helps in him identifying direction. So that is his north point, the compass, and then he will be able to locate the other positions. So long, Millville, I am obliged. He said, Millville remarks that the pine tree is so long, to which Jody agrees and expresses his gratefulness. He said, I am obliged. Okay. He waited for the sound of the hoofs to end, then cut to the right. The scrub was still. Now Jody waited for the sound of hoofs to end and let the horse go a bit far and then take a right. Now he was waiting there to hear the sound of the hooves, the feet of the horse, so that he's sure that they have gone back. Okay, then only he will proceed. He said the scrub that was in front of him stood still. Only the sound of a few twigs could be heard in the silence. Okay. Only his own crackling of twigs sounded across the silence. Means his own crackling of twigs means while he was walking. Now, when you walk in a forest, there are leaves all around, right? So whenever you will keep a feet on the shoe or your slipper or your feet on that leaf, there is a crackling sound, right? So he can now hear only his crackling of twigs across that silence. He wondered for an instant that if he had mistaken his direction. Now he was wondering, maybe he has mistaken his direction. He has lost his direction. Then a buzzard rose in front of him and flapped into the air. Buzzard means a large bird like that of a vulture that eats the flesh of dead animals. Now, in the forest, these type of birds and these type of animals are very common. So, a buzzard came in front of him. He came into the clearing under the oaks, to the abandoned clearing from under the oaks. Okay. Now he wants to save himself because he is in a forest and he is alone. Buzzards sat in a circle around the carcass of the doe. Now all the buzzards they sat in a circle around the doe that lay dead there. Okay. Now the doe was still the body of the doe was still lying in the forest. The buzzards, the vultures kind of bird, they were there to eat the body of the flesh, the body of that doe. They turned their heads on their long, scrawny necks and hissed at him. Now they looked at him with their heads that laid on their long necks and hissed at him. Okay, they were they were scaring Jody. He threw his bow at them and they flew into an adjacent tree. Now, whenever you want to get rid of a large bird, an animal, what you do, you throw something, or maybe you shake your hand like that so that bird, that animal go away from you. So he also did the same thing. The sand showed large cat prints, but the big cats killed flesh, and they had left the door to the carrion birds. He said the sand showed marks of large cat footprints. Cat footprints means maybe a lion, a tiger, who had killed it recently and had left the door for the carrion birds. He parted the grass at the place where he had seen the fawn. So he found his way to that place where he had seen the fawn. He separated the grass from the place and he saw the fawn, where he had saw, so, where he had seen that fawn. Now he could not believe it had just been a day. Okay. It did not seem possible that it was only yesterday. The fawn was not there. Now he was not able to find that fawn. He circled the clearing. There was no sound, no sign. On the other hand, if you will see the buzzards, they clapped their wings, impatient to return to their business. The buzzards made the sound with their wings out of desperation to resume what they were doing because they want to eat that doe. They were waiting for Jody to pass from there and so that they can eat their prey easily without any disturbance. Okay. He returned to the spot where the fawn had emerged and dropped on all fours, studying the sand from the small hoof prints. The night rain had washed away all tracks except those of cat and buzzard. Now what he did, he began looking at the place where the fawn had appeared from and began reading the small hoof prints in the sand. But the rain from last night had washed all these footprints except the footprints of cats and buzzards. Okay. So now he is not able to still find the fawn. Now let's do the comprehension check. Jody didn't want Millwheel with him for two reasons. What were they? So Jody became unwilling to be with Millwheel because of two reasons. He wondered that if the fawn was dead or could not be found, did not want Millwheel to see his disappointment. Also, if he finds the fawn, the union will be so lovely and so secretive that he could not bring himself to share it. He didn't want to share it with Millwheel. The next question, why was Millville afraid to leave Jody alone? Millville was afraid to leave Jody alone because it was a forest and he was also worried that what would happen if he is lost or bitten by a snake too. How he will save himself because he is very small as well, a young boy. The third part, movement directly in front of him startled him so that he tumbled backward. Now, what happened there? Suddenly, Jody was shocked after having experienced a movement in front of him and he fell backward. Now, as it is a forest, so he is scared. Maybe a tiger is appearing, a lion is appearing. So he was scared by the by a slight movement. What he saw was the fawn lifted its face to his. It was that fawn. The fawn lifted his face with a wide and wondering motion to see Jody and stared at him with his liquid eyes that if left Jody shook. Okay, now what he found was it turned its head with a wide wondering motion and shook him through with the stare of its liquid eyes. Why liquid eyes? Because it was small, it was very scared. There was a kind of tears, okay, in his eyes. It was quivering. It made no effort to rise or run. Jody could not trust himself to move. Now the fawn was shaking with a slight rapid motion. The fawn sat still and made no effort to run. On the other hand, Jody also could not move too, but he whispered lightly, "It's me." The fawn lifted its nose, scenting him. The fawn sniffed and smelled him. Okay. He reached out one hand and laid it on the soft neck. The touch made him delirious. Delirious means extremely excited. He moved forward on all fours until he was close beside it. Then he sat on his legs and his arms, and he moved close to the fawn. He put his arms around its body. A light convulsion passed over it, but it did not stir. A light shiver, passed through his body, but it did not stir. His touch made the fawn excited, and he moved forward in an attempt to be close to Jody. Okay, the fawn was so desperate for that warmth, right? As soon as Jody touched him, he moved forward in an attempt to be close to Jody. Jody put his arms around the fawn, which made that fawn shiver slightly, but it did not stir, which means he was not frightened but comforted now with Jody. Okay. Now, what happens next is he stroked its sides as gently as though the fawn were a china deer and he might break it. Now, what this means is he carries the sides of his body so gently as if he's a fragile, something fragile that can easily break, as a china deer. Its skin was very soft. Now, why they are saying a China deer? Because many a times the things which are made from China, which are made in China, they are not very durable. So sometimes uh, they just break easily, right? So that is why they were saying, he was saying that maybe it's a like it's. I'm feeling that like it's a China deer, it will break. It's very fragile, right? Its skin was very soft. It was sleek and clean and had a sweet scent of grass. He said the skin of the fawn was very soft, sleek and clean, and even possessed a pleasant scent of grass because he used to live in a forest, that is why. He rose slowly and lifted the fawn from the ground. Its leg hung limply. They were surprisingly long, and he had to hoist the fawn as high as possible under his arm. Now, he lifted the fawn from the ground in a way that hung his limbs in the air, right? Because his legs are long, so they were hanging in the air. The fawn's legs were quite long, so Jody had to hold him as high as possible under his arm, so that his legs are not touching the ground, right? That high he has to hold him. He was afraid that it might kick and bleat at sight and smell of its mother. He skirted the clearing and pushed his way into the thicket. It was difficult to fight through with his burden. So Jody was afraid that the fawn would kick and cry on seeing or smelling his mother. He took him through the clearing and managed to reach a place surrounded by trees and bushes. Now he doesn't want him to smell his mother lying dead there. Like that is why he changed his way. Okay. The fawn's leg caught in the bushes and he could not lift his own with freedom. He tried to shield its face from prickling vines. Its head bobbed with his stride. Okay. What happened? Unfortunately, the fawn's leg got stuck in the bush and it made it difficult for Jody to move his head independently. He protected him from the sharp vines too, and his heart was filled with astonishment on being accepted by the fawn. His heart thumped into the marvel of his acceptance of him, right? Now he was so comforted in his arms that Jody's heart was thumping. His heart was also feeling that, that he is secure. He was feeling nice. He reached the trail and walked as fast as he could until he came to the intersection with the road home. Now, once he reached the trail, he walked as fast as he could till he reached the intersection on the road that led to his home. He stopped to rest and set the fawn down on its dangling legs. It wavered on them, it looked at him and bleated. Jody stood there for a while to take a few breaths because he was walking very fast and put the fawn down on his swinging legs. Once on legs, the fawn flickered. Then it looked at Jody and cried. When it started crying, bleated. He said enchanted, "I will carry you after I get my breath." He said, "Don't worry, I am not putting you down. I will carry you again once I have taken a bit of rest." Okay. He remembered his father saying that the fawn would follow if it had first been carried. He started away slowly. Jody recalled that his father had told him that a fawn will follow you once you have carried it for a bit first. Jody started walking at a slow pace and Fawn looked as he walked further. Now, what this means is his father has told him if you will carry the fawn for some time in your arms and then you will leave him on the ground, he will follow you. Okay, he will follow you automatically. So there is no need or no effort to carry him till home. He started away slowly. The fawn stared at him. He came back to it and stroked it and walked away again. Jody again came back to caress it, stroke it, and went forward again. Okay. It took a few wobbling steps toward him and cried piteously. So this time the fawn took a few weak steps in Jody's direction as he cried. Now it was willing to follow him. Now the fawn was willing to follow him. He was happy. It belonged to him. Now it belonged to fawn belonged to him. It was his own. He was very light-headed with his joy. Now Fawn accepted him. So it belonged to him. It was his own now. He was light-headed with joy. Light-headed means he was now relieved from the stress that how he will find the fawn. The fawn will accept him or not. Now he was feeling very nice. Light-headed means very happy. Very tension-free. He wanted to fondle it, to run and romp with it, to call it to come to him. He dared not alarm it. He picked it up and carried it in front of him over his two arms. It seemed to him that he walked without effort. Now, he was so overjoyed, so light-headed that he could not even think properly and clearly. At that moment, Jody wanted to caress it with all his desire, play with it, and call it towards him. Right? If you will see here, he wanted to fondle it, to care him, to run and romp with it, to play with it and call it towards him, but he did not want to frighten it. Okay, but he did not alarm it. He didn't want to frighten it. Then he picked the fawn again in his arms and walked effortlessly. Okay, now he again picked the fawn up in his arms and he walked effortlessly. Now he was not short there. There was no. His arms began to ache and he was forced to stop again. Now again his arms began to ache by carrying the fawn for a long time and he was forced to stop again. When he walked on, the fawn followed him at once. Now this time what happened, now again this time when he stopped to take rest, the fawn followed him as he walked again. Okay. The fawn, he allowed it to walk a little distance, then picked it up again. He allowed the fawn to walk a few steps further and then pick it up again. The distance home was nothing. Now the home was almost very near. He could not he could have walked all day and into the night carrying it and watching it follow. He said, I could have picked it up and watched it follow all day, but he was tired and sweating at this time. He was wet with sweat, but a light breeze blew through the June morning, cooling him. The sky was so clear and that it had a light breeze was flowing that helped him dry his sweat on that June morning. The sky was very clear. Okay, he said the sky was as clear as spring water in a blue china cup. He said the sky was so clear that it had been compared to a spring water in a blue china cup. He came to the clearing. It was fresh and green after the night's rain. He reached the clearing at last, which was green and fresh after the showers last night. He fumbled with a latch and was finally obliged to set down the fawn to manage it. Then he had an idea. He would walk into the house, into Penny's bedroom, with the fawn walking behind him. So now, at first, he thought that making the fawn that he will make the fawn follow directly into Penny's room and surprise him. But the fawn refused to climb the stairs, so Jody had to pick him up to his father's bedroom. His dad was resting with closed eyes. Jody called, Pa, look! Penny turned his head. Jody stood beside him. The fawn clutched hard against him. It seemed to Penny that the boy's eyes were as bright as the fawn's. He said, I'm glad you found it. Pa, look! I've brought the fawn with me. The fawn grasped him firmly. Penny could see Jody's eyes as bright as glowing as he see the fawn's eyes were also same, right? Penny expressed his happiness over Jody having been able to find the fawn. Jody went to the kitchen. The fawn wobbled after him. A pan of morning milk stood in the kitchen safe. The cream had risen on it. He skimmed the cream into a jug. He poured milk into a small gourd. He held it out to Fawn. Then he went to the kitchen because he was very well aware that the fawn was very hungry. And the fawn also followed him with his weak steps. In the kitchen, a pan was filled with morning milk and it was kept reserved, but cream had formed on it, right? So he skimmed the cream and put it into a jug while he poured on the milk into a utensil made of small gourd. Okay. He held it out to Fawn. It buttered it suddenly, smelling the milk. He saved it precariously from spilling over the floor. He could make nothing of the milk in the gourd. He saved it from precariously from spilling the milk all over the floor, right? He could make nothing of the milk in the gourd because the fawn was still not very, acceptable to that milk because he was used to only drink his mother's milk. He dipped his fingers in the milk and thrust them into the fawn's soft, wet mouth. Now he was not able to lick the milk from that small gourd, that bowl. So he dipped his fingers in the milk and thrust them into the fawn's soft, wet mouth. It sucked greedily. He started sucking it greedily because he was very hungry at that time. When he withdrew them, it bleated frantically and butted him. He dipped his fingers again, and as the fawn sucked, he lowered them slowly into the milk. Now he was teaching the fawn how to lick the milk from the bowl himself. So he dipped his fingers again, and as the fawn sucked, he lowered them slowly into the milk. The fawn blew and sucked. The fawn blew and sucked and snorted. It stamped its small hoofs impatiently. As long as he held his fingers below the level of the milk, the fawn was content. As long as his fingers were in the milk, the fawn was content. He was satisfied. He was drinking it with his eyes closed. It was ecstasy to feel its tongue against his head. He said it's a ecstasy means an overwhelming feeling of great happiness or joyful excitement, right? Its small tail flicked back and forth, and the tail was also flicking back and forth, right? The last of the milk vanished in a swirl of foam and gurgling. And within a few seconds, all of the milk was disappeared quickly, forming foam which was marked by a bubbling sound. Okay. A story by Marjorie Kinnan Rawlings. Now let's do this comprehension check as well, and then we will be ending this chapter. So, how did Jody bring the fawn back home? Jody carried the fawn for a while in his arms and then stood for a while to take rest as he kept the fawn on the ground. Now he remembered that his father has told him that a fawn would follow you if you have carried him first for a while. So for some distance, Jody let it follow him. But as he wobbled, Jody kept picking him up and carrying it too. This is how they reached home. Sometimes in his arms, sometimes walking, okay, and taking rest in between. Then next question. Jody was filled with emotion after he found the fawn. Can you find at least three words or phrases which show how he felt? Okay, so yeah, we know that he was filled with emotion after he found the fawn. So the words and phrases can be: the touch made him delirious. His heart thumped with the marvel of its acceptance of him. He was enchanted. He was light-headed with his joy, right? So all these words and phrases you can use. And also you can use: it was ecstasy to feel its tongue against his head. It seemed to Penny that the boy's eyes were as bright as the fawn's. Or you can use three words or phrases from this answer. Then the third one: how did the deer drink milk from the gourd? Now the deer was unwilling to drink the milk directly from the gourd. So Jody dipped his fingers in the milk and put them in his soft, wet mouth. Instantly, with the fawn sucked greedily. He was very hungry, which is why when Jody took out his fingers out of his mouth, he cried and hit him with his head. The next time Jody put his fingers in the fawn's mouth, he gently lowered it so as to bring it near the utensil. The fawn became impatient, blew the milk as he sucked it, and made sounds. The fawn was calm till Jody kept his fingers inside the milk, and he drank the milk with his eyes closed in satisfaction. The milk disappeared quickly, forming foam which was marked by a bubbling sound. Fourth question. Why didn't the fawn follow Jody up the steps as he had thought it would? The fawn hesitated because he was at a very new place, right? And maybe he is that small that he hasn't learned to climb the stairs yet, right? That is why Jody had to carry him up against his original idea that he will follow him through the steps. Okay, so this might be the reason. So, children, here we come to the end of this chapter. And if you want all these answers in written form, do let me know in the comment section. I will make another video and I will give you the proper answers, written answers. Okay. I hope you enjoyed the chapter. Thank you.